Hey moms, it's Laura Ollinger. Welcome to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast. Because there's no manual for the hardest job in the world.
Hey there, everyone. So today I'm so excited to introduce you to Natalie Gerardo of Rooted In, and she's going to explain all about the health benefits and everything that goes along with magnesium. She's an expert in magnesium. So Natalie, tell us as moms, what do we need to know about magnesium? I know there's different types, different uses. So can you just kind of, for the person who doesn't know a lot about it, just kind of start us at like kindergarten level?
No problem. So magnesium is absolutely my favorite topic to talk about. And it's because it is just so unbelievably impactful to every single organ in our body. So magnesium, it's just a mineral. It's not a drug or anything like that. It's a mineral that's present in our food, and it's involved in over 700 different biochemical reactions in our body. So if you think about something that's going on in your body, it needs magnesium in order to work properly. And
Okay.
so the beautiful thing about magnesium is that its impact in our body and all those functions is so important that when we get an adequate amount, we really feel like we're firing on all cylinders. So magnesium is involved in nerve conduction. It's involved in how tightly your muscles are held. It's involved in blood sugar regulation. It's involved in how stressed out and anxious you feel. So it really plays such a huge, beautiful role in our bodies.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, as a mom, what is our role in knowing information about magnesium? In other words, how do we know if we need it? How do we know if our kids need it? Like, are there any signs or symptoms we should be looking for low in magnesium?
Absolutely. And this is really interesting. So, because magnesium is involved in all these different processes, it's easily overlooked and confused for something else. It's
Okay.
actually referred to as the invisible deficiency because it can be so quickly overlooked. So, when a person is deficient in magnesium, the symptoms really have this really giant range. So, everything from, getting chronic headaches and migraines, having insomnia or difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep, restless legs, muscle twitching, muscle cramping, inflammation in our joints, hormonal imbalance, anxiety, depression, high blood sugar, high cholesterol. And it's because magnesium is involved in all those different functions that it can really show up in all these different ways. So it's really easily overlooked and easily diagnosed for something else.
That's so good to know, just because a lot of times, we do have, as moms, we're so busy and we're running around and we just might not feel our best, but we might not know why. Maybe like we might just chalk it up to, oh, I was busy today. But maybe there is some underlying deficiency that maybe needs to be looked at or seen with our kids. I work with teenagers, and a lot of kids come to me very anxious, very stressed out. And so we can talk all about that, what's causing it, kind of like the things in their life that are, stressful. But, I think it's so important. In fact, as I have a background in functional medicine as a health coach, and I think it's so important to look at the biological factors and systems. And so I'm so excited. So how did you get into this business? I'm so curious.
Yeah, so like most people, it stemmed from a problem that I was having. So it
Mm.
was about 9 years ago, and I was struggling so much. I couldn't fall asleep and I couldn't stay asleep. I was sleeping an average of about 2 hours a night. It was wrecking me emotionally and physically. And
Mm.
it also manifested as really bad anxiety and panic attacks. And at the
Mm.
time, my kids were younger. They were, 8, 10 years old, and I could barely function as their mom. I was stressed out all the time. I was scared to even drive my car. I would have panic attacks in the store and have to run out the store. So it was really impacting every aspect of my life and my parenting. And
Mm.
so I did what any normal person would do. I made sure to eat a really good, clean diet, all organic. I made sure to get plenty of or plenty of exercise. I changed and managed my lifestyle, but these things still weren't working. So I went to the doctor and she ran so many tests, like every test under the sun. And
Mhm.
then ultimately she sat me down, she looked me straight in the face and she said, "Natalie, there's nothing wrong with you. Your blood work is perfect. It's all normal." And then she told me this is what happens when you get older as a woman. And
Oh.
so It was devastating. I felt wonderful that my blood work was great, but I also felt devastated that like there was no answer to how I was feeling it. And I felt like I was trapped and this was going to be my reality. So I kept searching, I kept looking, I kept trying to figure out how can I really address what's going on here. And I stumbled upon magnesium. Within a week of using it, I went from sleeping 2 hours a night to sleeping 6 hours a night, which was
Oh,
huge
wow.
for me at the time. Yeah, my anxiety started going away. I didn't have a panic attack that entire week. And I thought, what is going on? Why are we not talking about this mineral? Like everybody needs to know about the incredible benefits to magnesium. And so from there, I started learning, like, why are so many people dealing with this? Why am I, because I truly didn't feel like I was alone. Everybody I spoke to had some kind of symptom. And then I learned that close to 70% of us fail to get enough magnesium in our diet every single day. And 70%, that's 7 out of 10 people who are
Yeah.
not getting enough magnesium in their diet. And so it really kind of spurred this whole mission for me to educate as much as I can around the topic of magnesium.
That's awesome. That's amazing. I love that, it always comes from some time of internal need and then it becomes a passion. And so I'm really curious. So you have teenagers. Can you tell us how old they are?
Yeah, I have a 13-year-old and an 18-year-old.
Okay. So how, a lot of times moms know that teenagers resist. They don't want advice. They don't want feedback. In fact, just yesterday, I was talking to my son. He's a health nut. He loves to work out and he's trying to, get the right diet. And he drinks a lot of milk. Well, I'm, very wary of dairy. And so we were kind of having this discussion and he was telling me why he thinks he should have dairy. And I said, well, let's look at the research together. I'm not going to try to shove it down his throat. So how do you approach this? What would be your advice to moms if you do suspect that their teenager has potentially low magnesium? How would you approach that as a mom of a teenager who could potentially be resistant to anything like that?
Oh, that's a great question. So when we look at the research, the populations that are most at risk for magnesium deficiency are the elderly as well as teenagers.
Oh, really? That's crazy.
We see that teenagers are most at risk for this. The other thing we know is that foods that are high in magnesium include your dark green leafy vegetables, your nuts, and your seeds. And those are exactly the foods that my teenagers resist with every part of their body, right?
Yeah.
But please eat a salad. They'd rather eat pizza and chicken nuggets than a salad, of course.
Yeah.
So we're seeing that they're not getting enough in their diet first and foremost. And the first thing, as parents, we are in control of what foods come into the house. So of course, doing your best to make sure that they are eating a balanced diet that is rich in magnesium-rich foods like your green leafy vegetables, adding the spinach to the smoothies, adding some green vegetables to your pasta sauce, the same stuff we did when they were a toddler, I find works also now as a teenager.
Sneak it in.
Every chance we get. So that's the first start, because I'm a huge believer that you cannot supplement your way out of a bad diet. So even in my journey, in my health journey, when I figured out that I needed magnesium, I started with eating the good, healthy diet. And then I added magnesium as I needed to. The other side of that is that it's really hard to get enough magnesium in your diet every day. So what the RDA it's 350 to 400 milligrams a day. That's how much we need at a minimum of magnesium in our diet. And in order to get that food, you would have to eat at least 10 cups of raw spinach a day. So it's not an easy mineral to get plenty of, or you'd have to eat, I believe it's like a half a cup of pumpkin seeds every day, which is a lot. It really is difficult to get enough of it in our diet. So getting it into our teens really comes down to talking to them, like you're saying, have those conversations with them about nutrition, about what they're eating and about how they feel. I also see that when my kids are, when they're having that hard time sleeping and they wake up and they look all tired, and I'm like, do you not get enough sleep? Maybe you need some more magnesium. Let's talk about what that magnesium can do for your sleep, and introducing some easy to get supplements. There's powders, there's chewables, there's topicals that you can use, or even magnesium baths. I find especially my kids, like my youngest he loves exercise and playing basketball and all that kind of stuff. And when he starts to feel the pain from that, that's the easiest time for me to be like, hey, maybe you should take a magnesium bath, or maybe you should put something on, some magnesium lotion on those really achy joints so you can get back in the gym again and kind of speak his language.
Yeah, yeah. And what I found is a lot of times, kids don't want to listen to their mom, but if they hear it somewhere else, and there's so much health and wellness knowledge on the social media platforms that they are seeing. So if you have a kid that's kind of already into health stuff, they're probably going to hear it somewhere else and then be like, oh yeah, wait, mom, did you talk to me about that? They want to follow up and come back, but teenagers want to hear it for themselves. So I'm really curious, like, how did you tell us about the products that you have and what your company sells and how do we get it?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I went through this whole kind of health crisis, is what I like to call it, because it really felt like a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
I started using magnesium, and I first started using it on my skin. And I used it as a magnesium chloride spray. They're really popular. You're probably seeing chloride sprays all over, social media, that kind of thing. It's also something you can DIY at home, which makes it really easy to get a hold of, right? So magnesium chloride sprays are amazing. And I was using them, but they itched, irritated, and burned my skin. And I found I could not use it on my children. I tried it once. I made the fatal mistake of trying it once. I sprayed it on my son and he's like screaming, get
Yeah.
this, my skin is burning. So
Yeah.
I thought there's got to be a better way. And I really kind of dove into how do we get this on our skin without, it irritating quite so much. I saw that there were lots of people on like Etsy who were selling magnesium lotions, but it was inconsistent. Every time I asked, well, how much magnesium in it? Is it a therapeutic amount? Does it follow the studies on how much we actually need in terms of magnesium? And they couldn't give me those answers. The other side was going to my chiropractor, and my chiropractor had like the most medicine-y grandma's medicine cabinet smelling lotion out there. And I know my kids weren't going to go for that. And I knew I wasn't
Yeah.
going to go for that. So I set out to create my own product. I worked with 6 different chemists from all around the world over the course of 2 years to develop a product that had an actual therapeutic amount of magnesium in it, but that felt like a regular lotion that you would use every day so that you could seamlessly integrate that into your life and not have to add another supplement into your routine. So most of us are already using a moisturizer every day. So I created something that could replace that feels just like your regular everyday moisturizer, but is also actively boosting your magnesium levels.
That's so interesting. And so it just absorbs through the skin, just like any, we have to be wary of the toxic chemicals we put on our skin. So when you have something good, it is good to know that it also absorbs into our skin and gets into the bloodstream. And you said it's the correct amount. So that's so cool. I would have never thought of that.
Yeah, there was actually I formulated our product based off of, I believe it was a 2010 research study that showed that using 500 milligrams of magnesium chloride on your skin would boost your magnesium levels by close to 60% in about 12 weeks. So we're seeing like really incredible gains in using it on your skin, and there's no side effects, no digestive upset. It's safe to use while you're pregnant. It's safe to use on your children. Your elderly grandmother can use it. That there's not going to be any harm. And like you said, everything you put on your skin gets absorbed into your bloodstream. And it's something we overlook so much, but it also can work to our advantage if we're using it with good stuff.
That's so awesome. I literally would have never thought of that. But yes, I get it. I take supplements and oh my gosh, I'm so tired of swallowing stuff. It's like, oh, I just want to gag. I'm tired of, having to put it in. So, and I use essential oils also for things, but I love the idea. It's like you're already using a moisturizer. You might as well just put it in. And then I love the idea of the baths as well, that you had also mentioned, for, tired, achy kids, hop in the bath with your magnesium. So I assume that works the same way.
Yeah, so one great thing that people don't realize is Epsom salts. Epsom salts are magnesium sulfate. And it's one of those things, I've seen them at the dollar store. Like you can get them everywhere. And just simply taking that, 2 cups of Epsom salt, throwing it in the bathtub, soaking for 20 minutes. It's not only good for, the way your body feels physically, like in terms of your muscles and cramping, but it's also really good for your mental health as well. Taking that time out to really get that magnesium into your body. It's a nice ritual, to kind of like calm down, but it's also really good for your mental health in terms of it activates the sympathetic nervous system. It binds magnesium binds to GABA receptors in your brain, calming down your brain. Magnesium lowers cortisol, lowering your stress hormone. So on the mental health side, it's got some great benefits, but also on the physical side, it helps relax your muscles too.
That's awesome. So back in season 1, I had another guest who was actually my instructor at the Functional Medicine Health Coaching Academy where I was trained. And I said, if you have one bit of advice for moms, like just anything, what would it be? And she said, sleep. get enough sleep, because so many of us moms don't do that. And so I love that this is actually very supportive and very complimentary of her advice, because magnesium helps with sleep, but it just helps with everything. But I used to take magnesium as a bedtime thing. So what I'm curious about is, what time of day do you do your lotion, and how does that affect does it make you sleepy? Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to magnesium, it's one of those things that people often ask, that because I always preach about how amazing it is, and it's involved in energy production, but it also helps you fall asleep. And people are like, but how does it do both, right? Because those sound like they contradict each other. So
Right.
the beautiful thing about magnesium is it's not that it forces you to fall asleep, and it's not that it forces you to get hyper like caffeine does, right? What it does is it makes your body do what your body's supposed to do. See, during the day, we are supposed to wake up, get out of bed, have energy. We're supposed to be able to get through our day with ease. And at nighttime, we're supposed to transition into that rest and relax mode and be able to easily fall asleep. The problem is, when you don't have magnesium to work on all those amazing functions that it needs to work on, then your body stops working the way it's intended to work. And that's why we have a hard time falling asleep. And yet we feel wired and tired at nighttime, or dragging during the day because we're so fatigued because we're not getting enough rest. But when you get that magnesium to kind of fill in those puzzles, fill in those holes where it's supposed to fill in, then your body just does what it's supposed to do on a regular basis.
That's awesome. It sounds like it really supports the circadian rhythm, which is so important to just like natural functioning. And that's what I see with a lot of teenagers, because they're staying up late, they're, doing who knows what, whether it's homework or social media, they're sleepy in the morning. And so it's like, if they could just get on the right rhythm, that would probably greatly just enhance their life, the quality of their life. Have you seen that with your kids, that they've struggled with maintaining that kind of balance, especially I know we're in summer right now, so everybody's out of whack, but how has that affected their balance, do you think?
100%. I've seen that, especially in my youngest. When he doesn't get enough sleep, oh, the world will know about it, because the grouchiness is next level. So making sure he gets enough sleep. And with him, we do the topicals, and he does a chewable as well, because I'm a big believer in both oral supplementation of magnesium as well as topical. They do two slightly different things in the body. So it's important to make sure that you get enough of both. And so he does a chewable during the day, and then he uses topical magnesium as well to help him fall asleep. But yeah, there's a really, really important to make sure you're getting both. I'm not a believer that it's just one or the other. I think both really play an interesting role in our bodies.
Okay. Well, not to nerd out too much, but I love science. And can you explain the difference without being too, chemical bondish, in your descriptions?
Absolutely. Yes. And I'm a huge science nerd, so I'm happy to talk anytime. So when it comes to oral supplementation of magnesium, so you're taking your pills, your powders, those type of things, are a great way to make up for deficits in our diet. So if you are, like most of us, we're not eating those 10 cups of raw spinach every day, we're not getting enough of those nuts and seeds that we're supposed to, then taking an oral supplement can kind of fill in the gaps that we're missing in our diet. And so for most of us, it's a good idea to start taking a magnesium oral supplement. The important thing about supplementing with oral magnesium is making sure you're getting the right type. So what overwhelms people is they'll go to the health food store and they'll see this whole aisle of magnesium. They're like, I don't know which one to take. There's over 14 different forms of magnesium, and some of them are great, some of them are terrible. So just as a rule of thumb, I always recommend that people stay away from magnesium oxide, because oxide only absorbs at a rate of 4%. So 4% will get into your body. The other 96% is going to get kicked out through your digestive tract. And for some of us, will leave us in the bathroom all day long. And nobody wants that, right? So avoiding oxide is a good rule of thumb. If you're going to take a supplement, a glycinate, malate, magnesium threonate, magnesium taurate, those are great forms that are well absorbed, that won't cause us all the tummy trouble that other forms do. So that's kind of a rough guide to oral supplementing. And it's a great way to make up for deficits in your diet. When you're using topical, you're going to use topical to target certain issues. So for instance, if you have a leg cramp, let's say that at nighttime you're sleeping, your leg always cramps up and it wakes you up and it drives you crazy. So you could use the topical on that exact muscle for the magnesium to get right into that muscle tissue. Take a pill, it would go throughout your whole body. Some of it would get into that muscle tissue, but for the most part, it's going to go everywhere. When you use a topical, you could put it exactly where you need it, when you need it, so it starts working right away in that area that you need it.
Oh, that's so cool. I would have never known that. That's great. And it's kind of like how my doctor talks about allergy medicine. The spray, if you have, allergies is better. The no spray is better because it's right where you need it versus taking like an Allegra or, Zyrtec or something. That's just going through your whole body so sometimes you just want it where you want it and you don't want it everywhere else. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So I would love to actually buy your products for my own family, but how can other people buy your products? Where do we go?
Sure. Our website is berootedin.com. And we are also Be Rooted In across all social media channels. So we have so many incredible free resources. My mission in life is to really educate as much as possible. So we've got magnesium guides, cheat sheets, quizzes, all that kind of great stuff across our social media. And then I'm always available for questions, message, comment, email, all that good stuff. I'm always available.
I love it. You're like the magnesium expert. Now we know where to go. So thank you so much for sharing your time and educating us and kind of giving us all the ins and outs. Because again, that's just not something the typical person knows. And my audience is, a wide variety of moms who some of us are real health nuts and other ones of us, we just want to feel good. We don't want to necessarily do all the research and reading about how to do that. So you made it really easy for us today. So thank you again. And I appreciate your time, Natalie. So, almost forgot. I'm going to be sure to include the links, on the show. So that way people can easily click and find it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on and for what you're doing to really spread a positive and wonderful message out there.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast, because there's no manual for the hardest job in the world. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends.